to apologise. Let's catch up with Liberal Senator Holly Hughes now, Liberal Senator for New South Wales, joining us from Sydney. Good to speak to you again, Holly. There's a lot to talk about, some very grave and some a little bit flippant. Let's start off with the gravest news of the day. I mean, it's good news, I suppose, that the Afghanistan war is finishing up. Australian troops will be brought home by September. But it was a heavy toll of 41 lives over 2 decades, hundreds of sometimes very severe injuries. Was it all worth it?
Well, I guess we'll wait and see. I didn't find it a surprise, the announcement today. Like you, I've been over to the Middle East, but we were unable to get into Afghanistan because back in March last year, under President Trump, there were significant troop withdrawals already occurring throughout Afghanistan. And for those that don't understand the politics there was an election. Both candidates declared they were the president. But it was actually the Taliban that was negotiating the peace deal with the Americans. So there's lots of complexities in Afghanistan. Our troops have done a wonderful job, and as Australians, we should be incredibly proud of the contribution that we've made to the war effort in Afghanistan and across the Middle East. I'm, for one, very pleased. I have a very dear friend still serving over there at the moment, and I'm very excited that they'll all be home soon, as well as him.
Yeah, well, it's a very spectacularly beautiful country, very dangerous terrain though, and very troubled past. And certainly Australia has made a terrific contribution there. What sort of ongoing effort should we be involved in to try to make sure that, to give that country every chance of hanging on to some sort of stability and security?
I think support around the democratic process and ensuring that Afghanistan maintains the changes that it has adopted, particularly in light of women. I mean, we remember when, and that terrible footage you showed earlier of September 11, but what we learnt about the Taliban and its persecution of women and the absolute, total lack of freedoms that they had, that it was incredibly dangerous to be a woman in Afghanistan. And there has been significant changes socially and culturally in that area, and I think it's important that our ongoing diplomatic relationship with Afghanistan ensures that those freedoms are maintained for women.
Now, when we talk about the serious work that our armed services are involved in, what about this footage from the weekend, the commissioning of the Navy vessel in that beautiful harbour we see behind you, and the dancing and twerking going on? Is that appropriate for such an occasion?
Look, I had the absolute privilege of decommissioning the Melbourne, so it was the other end of the life cycle of the ship. It was certainly a very solemn occasion, decommissioning the ship. There was certainly no twerking going on at that. Look, the dancers are certainly not to blame. Whoever thought it was a good idea probably wants to have a rethink about it. But the misrepresentation of who was there, of when that event occurred, is absolutely appalling by the ABC. But I guess, as you and I both know, it's pretty much just true to form with their behaviour.
The tweak of the twerking by the ABC, the Governor-General's shown watching the dancing. He's never seen it before. Yeah,
I'm not quite sure it'd be normally his cup of tea.
Yeah, interesting stuff indeed. Now, just another sad note, I suppose, but also a celebration of an important life today in Sydney. The funeral service at St Mary's Cathedral for Carla Zampatti. You obviously weren't able to be there with your parliamentary duties, your committee duties, but just how significant is Carla as an Australian?
She is the queen of Australian fashion. Everybody has a Carla story or a Carla outfit, whether it was you saved up for it when you were, first started your very first job, or, I mean, my mother's now in a home with dementia, and I had the unhappy job of going through her wardrobe. And the last time I got to see Carla, her and I were laughing that my mother had kept her in business throughout most economic downturns over the years, because the volume of Carla Zampatti clothing that I discarded during cleaning out my mother's wardrobe. Unfortunately, I'm a little bit taller than her. She was quite petite, so it wasn't something I could inherit. But she was just a fashion icon. She was an incredible woman, a fantastic Australian, and it's a devastating loss.
Yeah, it is indeed, but a great celebration of her life today. Thanks so much for joining us, Senator. I
Well, as
appreciate it.
Bianca said, the best dressed funeral in town.
Yeah, indeed, and we saw some of that from some of those pictures. Appreciate your time, Holly. That's Senator Holly Hughes, who's a Liberal senator for New South Wales. Now, we're going to stay in the great state of New South Wales for